Hello, everybody. Welcome to SEMA 2025. On the SEMA Collision and Repairs Refinish stage today, we are covering the next new thing, sustainability and collision repair. With me is Jeff Wildman from BASF. And Jeff, what do you do over at BASF?
So my role is I'm our industry expert. What that really means is I work with all the stakeholders in the industry to understand what's going on, what's coming next, where the industry's going, and what are the things we need to be aware of. How do we as BASF then address that, and how do we help our customers understand that so they're prepared for the future?
Right, and I know with this title, Sustainability and Collision Repair, last year I know we did this presentation on sustainability, and we talked a little bit about what that meant. And looking through some of the slides and talking to you, it looks like BASF has even went farther in trying to be even more sustainable. Why don't you tell the audience and our viewers, what does that mean, sustainable?
Well, and that's a great question. That's kind of why I started out with what we consider a premier collision center, because we're looking at how does a collision center become sustainable. So how are they doing what they need today, but setting themselves up for the future? And I'm not going to read the whole slide here, but some of the things we're looking at is how do they adapt to evolving vehicle technology? What are the things they're doing? What should they be doing? And how does that tie into the operational needs today versus what's coming? How do they build an operational workforce with resilience? You know, we need technicians, but we need technicians that know not just how to fix today's cars, but what do we need to fix cars that are coming next year and the year after? Are they leveraging data? You know, we look at the world and data drives the world today.
Correct.
You know, how do you use that to optimize your performance? All we hear about today is AI. AI is worth zero if you don't have good data. So we're trying to bring that to the shop. You know, how do they commit to responsible operations? We've been doing this for years, but in the future, should you look at eco-friendly practices, optimizing your resources? And it's as simple as things like, are you wasting material?
Right. Some people may hear those terms and think that you're saying you should do something that is off the wall. That's not the case. If you're saving materials, saving time, saving money, improving your process, that just means better bottom line. I mean, in the end. And yes, some of the processes that you're talking about and some of the processes you have developed are also very eco-friendly. And that's just another plus, but it's not the only plus.
Right, and like I said, when we start talking about sustainability, is your business sustainable? Will you be here in 5 years? That's the basics of it. So as we start to get into this, and as we go through this, you and I are just going to talk about it. Those of you that are going to watch this on video later, I'm going to ask you to kind of put your preconceived notions aside for a minute and listen with the intent to be influenced. Listen first, and then think later about how this might impact you.
Well, I can already say just from talking to you earlier, you already sold me on it, so.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. So last year we talked about this. The eco-efficient repair process we've developed with 3M. We're not changing the tools and materials you use necessarily. We're changing the process to make you more efficient. And that's all it's about. Here's the right materials, here's the right grits of sandpaper and other things, so you can efficiently repair a car more and reduce waste, reduce cost. But that's good for your business. But it also comes back, it's good for the environment, it's good for your customers, it's good for your employees. It's a win-win-win. So what are your thoughts? I mean, you saw this last year, you know kind of where we're at with it.
Oh,
what am I missing?
Nothing. I mean, I'm excited about it. Everything that we talked about last year and that I've seen and talking to you now, everything is just saving. It's just, you know, maybe we need to hear more about the processes that you and 3M have come up with, you know. We look at everybody saying this, you know, be more sustainable, be eco-friendly, but I think we need to put together what you have accomplished, how you've accomplished that. What does that mean?
We sat down with body shops. We sat down with our technical team and the 3M technical team. I said, what's it really take to prep a vehicle for refinish? What are the issues you have at the shop level? What are the tools, what are the resources available that BSF and 3M have? How do we do this the most efficient and effective way? And again, when we talk to shops, we said sustainability, they said, okay, I'm done. So that's why I said, listen with the intent to be influenced. Don't have your preconceived notions. But we've taken it further, and we're very strong in this in Europe. North America, not so much. But as we start to think of things, we've launched 100 line here in North America. We've been talking about it, about how efficient it is. Well, one of the things people don't realize is it also uses less material. We use less material with 100 line than with any of our other paint lines, and with less than most of our competitors.
But that's, a lot of that is progress. If we want to go all the way back years ago, we were using siphon-fed guns, right?
Right.
And I think maybe 20% when you pulled that trigger that was in that cup went on the car.
Correct.
So what happened to the rest of it?
It just went in the air, it went in your filters, went in your lungs.
Exactly.
Maybe you were wearing a respirator.
Right. And, you know, it took a gallon of paint to do what you would do with less than a quart now. So people think, well, maybe when you say sustainable, you know, that you're going down a path maybe they don't think they should go. But we've been going down this path for 20 plus years, and probably longer than that, with having guns that are more transfer efficient, with having paints and clear coats and stuff that last longer, they go further, less solvent, more meat to them, right? And so what you're doing now with these lines is not something that you should be afraid of. It's something you should be embracing. And what you got on the slides to come is what kind of intrigues me, and I want to really hear more about too.
Yeah, and again, like this line right now, it's 40% less VOC than anything else on the market. Okay, it's better for your employees.
Right.
You're not going to walk into the paint room and just smell paint fumes necessarily. So it's not all bad things. It's not all more difficult. It's just different. And like you said, we've been on this path for a long time.
Right.
And we're heading into some new areas. And this is the one that you mentioned earlier, is the chem cycling and the biomass balance.
Right. And this is what is so new to me that I think our audience, our viewers would really be interested in how you could take old tires and take that material and turn it into clear coat material. That is something that just kind of blows my mind. Right. I need to learn from you about this.
Well, what we're doing is we're taking old tires and using a process called pryolysis. I probably mispronounced that. But what it does is it takes those tires and basically turns them back into the original elements and compounds that they were made from.
And you can do that without releasing all the chemicals into the environment?
Yes. It's all done without releasing those chemicals. We separate those, and then we can use that material to make new products. Whether that be replacing natural gas to make a product, whether it means replacing one of the components of a product. And the only difference that you would see in the product is we will put a label on the outside that says chem cycling. It's the exact same product in the can as that product when we don't use chem cycling.
So I want to make sure I understand this right. You're going to have a clear coat out there.
Yes.
And that clear coat, some of it will be made. One can will be made from parts of used tires that broke down. The can next to it, not.
It'll be made from basically from crude oil.
So,
which is one of the
same
first
things.
Components of paint.
Right, and there's no difference between either one.
No difference in the final product.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty exciting.
So again, when we talk about sustainability, it's buy can A instead of can B.
Right.
Nothing else changes.
You know, and you talk about the tires. You know, a lot of people have a lot of different opinions, but I think it's pretty obvious that getting rid of old tires can be a problem.
How many times have you seen pictures of stacks and piles of old tires or old tires burning in the smoke?
Right, and if this is a way to help alleviate that problem and put it into clear coats and other things, like I say, it kind of blows my mind a little bit. It's hard for me to wrap my head around, but man, I mean, I don't see anything that you could go wrong with it. I mean,
again, what do you want to do with your old tires? Nobody knows what to do with them.
well, they've made mulch out of it and stuff like that.
Right. So that's one of the things, and like I said, it reduces in the manufacturing process. It reduces the CO2 production by up to 40%. So when you look at, again, a huge chemical company like BASF, there are a lot of government regulations about how much CO2 you could put out.
Yeah.
So it helps a company like ours also meet those government regulations around the world.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And as we get further into this, you'll see how this can also support a collision center as things change in the future.
Okay.
The other one we talk about is biomass balance. And again, what we're doing here is replacing some of the petroleum raw materials with something else, non-fossil fuel, some type of renewable energy. So this could be solar power. It could be thermal power. There's any way that we can replace something without changing that end product. And the way we do this, and we have a clear coat that we're using biomass balance today, which is one of the clear coats we just introduced in Southern California to meet Southern California's new VOC regulations.
So explain to me the bottom line difference to the painter. I'm a painter, and you're selling me on this clear coat versus what I've been using for the last few years. What am I looking at the difference is?
When we talk about the difference in the clear coat itself, these are higher solids clear coats. They're lower VOC. Again, when we talk about biomass balance, you see one that was made with biomass balance, one that wasn't, they are identical. There's no difference in what's in the can. There's no difference in the way it sprays or the durability or anything else. It's all back into the manufacturing process. Okay. And that's where we're trying to make those changes to make these more sustainable products. Okay. And this is also a process that is certified by a third party. So to make it simple, it's kind of like an ISO certification.
Okay.
So there's a third party that comes in that measures this to say, yes, you are using.
So I don't have to take your word for it.
Exactly. And again, we have a certificate that talks about that.
Right.
But again, from a shop or a user's perspective, it's the same product you've been using. So those are the kind of things when you start looking at this, start thinking about how would you use that at your shop? Does that give you another way to market your business or to talk to certain customers? What do you think an EV customer would think of these things?
I think most would be very appreciative of it.
So, like I said, what can you do with it? We've also developed this eco-assessment tool.
Okay.
We can come through and do an audit at your shop. And it's a different type of audit than what you've seen in the past. We're going to look at things about energy usage, your emissions, but if you, materials, how do you stack up as a shop? But if you think about looking just at energy usage, is it a negative if I could cut your gas and electric bill?
No, not at all.
We had a discussion this morning about compressed air and volume of air. What if we just go around your shop and look at your airlines and fix the leaks in your airlines?
That could be very helpful.
How much energy could it save you?
Right.
How much dirt in the shop could it reduce? And how much better could it make just the whole process of repairing vehicles, making sure you have the right amount of air for each tool?
Yeah.
Let alone the wear and tear on your compressor.
But a lot of people don't understand that electricity, when you're talking about this, is very similar.
Yeah.
Having too small a wire is similar to having too small an airline, right?
Yes.
And so that creates more resistance, which in the end creates more problems, more energy use.
Right.
So it just a small example of what you could be talking about when you go in and do an evaluation.
When we look at this, the paint shop uses about, if I remember the number right, about 70% of the energy used in a body shop.
Sounds about right.
And again, if you think about it, you've got that booth going all day. You've got the booth heating up, cooling down, heating up, cooling down.
And in colder environments, I would say that probably even goes up.
Right. So if we could look at some things, and again, that's what this assessment does, is let's just look at it. Is there anything you can do to become more efficient?
Yeah.
I don't know of a shop today that tells me they're making too much profit.
Right.
So how do we help you cut some costs? It's looking at things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So these are all tools, products that are coming. And although you haven't heard it yet, I've talked to insurers and OEMs from around the world as well as here in North America. They all have, as large companies, sustainability targets. They're trying to hit these targets today. BSF has sustainability targets. You know, I know every OEM out there, go to their website, look up sustainability report, and you'll find it. They are all looking at how do we start to get into scope 3, which is working with collision centers, for example, to bring them into this program. And what are the things that we start to expect from them? You know, I know of one OEM that from a sustainability perspective, has said that every certified shop now needs to use waterborne paint. It's a small step, but it's a step.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's well known. Most OEMs and most businesses out there are trying to be more sustainable.
Right.
I think that is a common thing. And, you know, like we said at the very beginning of this, there's nothing wrong with saving. Let's take it another step. You're making money by spending less money.
Right.
You know, and that's just the reality behind it. If I can cut my gas bill down a little bit, cut my electrical bill down a little bit, and I still get the same performance. I mean, if I got a clear coat that I only have to bake 10 minutes at 140 degrees versus 20 minutes, you know, at 150 degrees.
Right.
Then obviously that's going to save me money if it comes out the same end result. And that is an example of sustainability that could help.
We launched a one-coat clear coat. Okay, it's one time around the car now instead of two. That's a sustainable product.
Right.
It's a very high solids product, but it's got lower VOCs. Is it a change in your business model or your process?
Yeah, definitely.
It's a little change in process, but what does it bring to you?
Right, and as far as products like that go, what we have to keep in mind is how much, once it's fully dried and fully cured, and hopefully everybody knows the difference between those two that are listening to this, but once it's fully dried, then fully cured, how much clear do we have left? That's
Right.
the key. So if you can achieve that, the look you want in one coat versus two coats, you obviously have less solvent. You know, all that solvents just evaporate out in the air anyway.
Exactly.
It doesn't go, it solves no purpose, and a lot of people listening may not understand that. It solves no purpose other than allowing you to lay it down on the vehicle.
The solvent allows you to get the coating out of the gun to the car.
Exactly.
And then we want that solvent to go away.
Yep. And it does, and it right into the air.
Yes. So when we talk about high solids, we're using less solvents. And again, if you look at the future, we tend to follow what happens in California. California has new VOC regulations going into effect. There is only one paint base coat out there today in the world that meets California's target for 2030, the 100 line.
Right.
There are no clear coats out there from any company that meet their targets for 2028. So you're going to see new products.
Right.
Those are going to start in California. They're going to move.
Right.
We will see those in other parts of the country, and some of the areas, we'll see them there not because they're regulated, but because they're a better product.
And that's the key. If it's, once you regulate it in California, if it is a better product, it will go through. But if
Right.
it's not, it'll stay in California.
Yeah. And that's all we're looking at is how do we focus on working with shops today, but at the same time solving the problems that we see coming for the future
Right.
and set them up for success.
Well, Jeff, we got to wrap this up.
Okay.
We're about overtime here. As always, it was a pleasure having you here, and thank you for coming, sharing your knowledge and expertise.
Thank you. Appreciate it.